Go off to a new year. Lane Kiffin as your head coach. The transfer portal is open. Welcome to the year of 2026. I hope for you and myself, both of us have a very prosperous year, whether it be financially, whether it be with family, whether it be with friends, children, whatever it may be. But the first show of the 2026 calendar year with you and I. And I was thinking about this going into it. What is the over-under for the level of time that it's going to take us to complete everything that's gone on these last 2 days? I'm thinking an hour and 26 minutes and 42 seconds. I think that's when the show ends because you and I have a lot that you and I need to get into here. Players that are staying, players that are leaving, players that have been announced that they are returning. Deshaun Spears plays the hokey pokey with the transfer portal. We'll discuss all of that in great detail. The transfer portal is open. Brandon Sorsby, Sam Levitt, is Trinidad Chambliss indeed going to get that waiver? You and I will discuss that here today. Oh, and by the way, are you about to throw a crap load of money in the portal? So we'll get into all of that. Ole Miss did win a football game last night versus Georgia that unfortunately, yes, we technically have to get into because a couple of players that may be on your roster next season are currently going to be playing next Thursday for Ole Miss. So we will get into that as well. Oh, and by the way, as the last time you and I signed off, I had a little bit of a temper tantrum in reference to tampering. And Ole Miss potentially preparing a lawsuit. Your staff that is currently your entire offensive staff, are they going to continue to coach for Ole Miss? Or are they coming into LSU? We'll get into all that. So we have a whole bunch of things that you and I need to get into here today. Some big names in the transfer portal, like Cam Coleman and Isaac Brown. We will also discuss in that entirety as well. Everyone do us a favor, though, by hitting the like and share. Share to all those groups if you're on Facebook and to all those social media pages. You're watching us, listening to us on YouTube. Like, subscribe, notification bell, wherever you listen to podcasts. Rate, review, and subscribe. Yes, if you're on Facebook, hit that like, hit that subscribe, or hit that share button. We greatly appreciate you doing that. If you're on YouTube, 60% of you have not subscribed already. Do us a favor by just going down below and hitting that subscribe button. We're going to hit 20,000 subs in the year of 2026 of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. But I need all of you to share to all of your friends, share to everybody you know. Well, it's transfer portal season under Lane Kiffin, and it's going to be a fun one. Tell them to subscribe to the YouTube channel. Every AYS show is brought to you by our good friends over at FanDuel. Yes, a new year. Same partner with our good friends over at FanDuel. Download the FD Sportsbook app. Do you think Miami can beat Ole Miss? Do you think Ole Miss can beat Miami? You could place that bet with our good friends over at FanDuel. Do you think Indiana, who completely just roused Alabama yesterday, do you think that they're on their path and way to winning a national title? Well, they got to go through Oregon first. You can place a bet with our good friends over at FanDuel over with that one as well. Download the FD Sportsbook app if you're on Android and or Apple iPhone. For any of you LSU fans that are living inside the state of Missouri, FanDuel is now active in the good state of Missouri. You can download the FD Sportsbook app. For any thoughts, questions, concerns, go to FanDuel.com/RG for more details with that as well. And another great partner that we have joining us in the January is our good friends over at ZipRecruiter. Guys, the new year starts a new you. I know that, and you know that. But 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. You can go and see for yourself. Just go to the exclusive web address right now over at ZipRecruiter for free if you're listening to AYS right now. Go to ZipRecruiter.com/audio. Again, that's ZipRecruiter.com/audio and be able to try those services because ZipRecruiter is powered with our good friends here at AYS. Good friends. I'm the only friend here. But ZipRecruiter is the number one spot if you own a business and you need some good employees. There's a lot of people there that are looking for jobs that have quality resumes. Go over to ZipRecruiter.com/audio for more details on that. Let's get to a couple comments here before we get rolling. Shaquan with a $2 super chat says, man, Isaac Brown would be nice. So I was going to get into this. We'll get into this a little bit more detail in just a moment. but thank you for the $2 super chat. Yes, there's a couple of ways you can get involved too. 3 things. Number 1, where are you listening to us from today? Are you in the 225, the 337, the 504, the 985, the 318-31 great? Where are you listening to? Tell us inside the comments. Producer Jack is behind the scenes working the 1s and 2s. So we'll get to him. You can become a member on the YouTube channel or send in super chats. We greatly appreciate it. But Shaquan is asking about Isaac Brown. Look, the 2 biggest names right now outside of quarterback in the transfer portal, 2 of the 3, Isaac Brown and Cam Coleman. Do I think LSU is going to get involved there or try to see some things? Yes. Is the Texas Longhorns going all in on Cam Coleman and Isaac Brown? Also, yes. It seems to be trending that the Longhorns, who got rid of their running back room, have moved on from Parker Livingstone. They're going to go all in for some of these guys at receiver and Isaac Brown with Cam Coleman and Isaac Brown. So would it be nice? Yes. Do I anticipate Texas to spend a crap load of money on those 2 guys? Also, yes. So if you're going to do it, better spend a lot of money. Lord D3MI became a member on the YouTube channel. Thank you so much. I greatly, greatly appreciate that. Oh, boy, this is going to be a hot topic today. Take the staff back right now, says Alexander. I do agree. We're going to get into that right after the break because there's a lot that's going on with that. And, well, I don't think that we can't postpone that. And also, you hired James Craig. So we'll get into that as well coming out of the break. All right, a couple more here before we get rolling. Keno with a comment here says, finally here to start a live. Yes, it's good to have you in here with us. Ricky Pope says it's showtime. Good to have the both of you in here with us right now. Nicholas says, will you be using the forum during portal season or are you transitioning to members only YouTube? So we're talking about that. We're going to have a decision probably by the end of next week. We're probably going to have, because a lot of you said that you didn't want to do the message boards anymore. And so internally, we're going to have some conversations about that moving forward. Charlie Weiss Jr. says, Matt had me excited calling plays last night. He was in his bag, without a doubt. Without a doubt, he was 1,000% in his bag. We'll talk about that too. Broad337 with a $5 super chat says, I'm on the Lane train, but I'm about all done with the Ole Miss tweets about my LSU head coach. Like, I get it, but I'm over it. Yeah, and listen, there are a couple of things that I want to discuss about that. I don't really know this old Rose Sports. I don't know who they are. They have a massive following. Forgive me for not knowing who those Rudy Poos are. However, with that being said, I think guys like Ross Dellinger, who went into a press conference last night asking about Lane Kiffin, what are you doing? They just upset Georgia in a playoff game, and your first question's about Lane Kiffin. You are mad that he was going to go. You're mad that he wasn't going to go, but you know what drives clicks. And, guys, I'm going to continue to tell you this. They're going to continue to go after him. It is what it is. You're going to have to play the villain role in all of this. I know that Xavion Harris, the defensive tackle last night, had some words, even though he got dominated in the interior. That's neither here nor there. He said something to the effect, that's what Kiffin tried to do. He tried to be a damn announcer. He's just a troll. Well, you committed to that troll. You did. And good on you for being in the Final Four, but Lane Kiffin put that entire staff together. He put that entire team together. You know who agrees? Pete Golding, when he said in his press conference last night. But Ross Dellinger is on this vendetta. Just got to be real. Brent McMurphy is on this vendetta. Whether they like to admit it or not, with their bad mustaches or not, they don't want to admit that they want to continue to talk about Lane. Ole Miss upset Georgia last night, and from the national media perspective, the questions were about Lane Kiffin. What are we doing here? Trinidad Chambliss just went off, and you went in a press conference, and you wanted to talk about Lane. You didn't want to talk to him about his waiver. You didn't want to talk to him about how he just threw a dime to end a game and send Georgia home. You didn't want to talk about that. You wanted to talk about Lane Kiffin. Because of course you do. Because the reason that you make money is because you need the clicks. Talking about the game is not going to get you that, because the truth of the matter is, guys, a lot of these national guys, ask them what a 3 technique is. Ask them what a 3 technique is. Ask them what a backside guard is supposed to do on opposite side zone against the 3-tech. They don't know. They will never know. They are about getting news and presenting the news. That's what they are. That's what they do. That's what they do. But what they don't do is tell you about what's going on inside the game. They don't want to do that. So On3 continues to publish this stuff. Good on them. We'll talk about a Ross Dellinger report here today. But they're not going to stop. They are not going to stop posting stuff about Lane. Why would they? It generates their business. All right. We got lots that we need to discuss here. Let me get to a quick break. I see all the super chats coming in and the gifts coming in. I greatly appreciate it. We got a lot we need to discuss here. I can waste no time. Let me get to a quick break. We got portal, retention, staff. We got so many things that we need to discuss. We'll start on that next. Stay with us.
He will sell your house and find you a new. Well, Tyler's the man. He's here for you. If you want to buy or sell, well, it's not too late. Dial 955-0008. Just call 955-0008. Y'all call Tyler. He'll shoot you straight.
Hey, guys, I want to tell you about our good friends over at Red Stick Financial. They're your local residential mortgage broker located right here in the heart of Baton Rouge, Louisiana. At Red Stick Financial, they find the bank that works for your particular set of needs to purchase the home of your dreams or refinance the current one. They truly are your partners in this process, and they pride themselves in helping individuals and families with one simple goal in mind, and that is to make home financing approachable, attainable, and stress-free. They are licensed in all Louisiana, Texas, and Mississippi. So from Amarillo to Meridian and everything in between, they have you covered. Red Stick Financial brings you creative, customized solutions, and they don't believe in the one-size-fits-all when it comes to loans. They even have special options for mobile and manufactured homes located in a flood zone and stated income financing for those of us who are self-employed borrowers. If you or someone you know is looking to buy a home, refinance an existing mortgage, or simply want to know what options are out there for your future, give Red Stick Financial a call today at 225-407-9250. That's 225-407-9250. Or check them out online at redstickfinancial.com. That's redstickfinancial.com. Before you purchase the home of your dreams or you go and do that refinance, you need to go local. Go Red Stick. We're back. For all of you that are watching us on Facebook, yes, we're still going to Facebook. A lot of you have asked. I understand it went out. We put it back in. That's what she said. Pause. Just monitor it. If something happens on Facebook, just go over to YouTube to continue to watch the show. We're not going to bring it back there. All right. We're not going to keep playing the hokey pokey with Facebook. Either they got to figure it out or not. I mean, I've wanted to transition to YouTube for the whole time here, but a lot of you still watch it on Facebook. It is what it is. Let's get moving here. LSU is making another hire on the Ole Miss staff. This one they know very well, with hiring offensive line analyst James Craig. Now, James Craig was a part of LSU staff in 2019. I don't know if I need to go over what happened at the end of the tenure with James Craig at LSU with the whole Tristan Lee debacle, but I will just reference it. James Craig was a part of your staff and was the offensive line coach under Ed Orgeron when you won the Joe Moore Award that season. A lot of people have tried to convince me over the years, by the way, that was potentially not your best offensive line that you've had in the last 2 decades. I digress. I still think that it is based off of what you did, especially in the running game with Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Guys, you ran 3 run plays. Inside zone, outside zone, and zone read. That's basically what you ran, and you dominated. But since James Craig was fired and Scott Woodward doing some things behind the scenes to try to go after James Craig sues LSU, wins the lawsuit because LSU and, basically Scott Woodward tried to play some games with him. They lost. Well, throughout this process, James Craig is now, who has kind of gone through a couple of places, went to the NFL, came back to college, became an analyst at Ole Miss, is now going to be following Lane Kiffin to LSU in his second stint at LSU. So the first bit of staff news that we need to talk about here before we get to the prolonged thing of everybody wants to talk about it, LSU pulling their staff from Ole Miss, is very simple. Number one, you have a lot of people inside of LSU that fully believe and are clearly, and we all know this, that the offensive line is going to be a massive rebuild here. You're bringing two veteran SEC and, to some extent, NFL experienced offensive line coaches that can help rebuild a room that massively needs it. Absolutely, positively, 1,000% needs a complete rebuild, and you're bringing in two experienced guys, in Eric Wolford and James Craig to do as much. You've already seen what James Craig can do. Now, in reference to this, and I tweeted this during the break, quote-unquote holiday break, I freaking love this. The reason I love James Craig being back is because, guys, analysts can coach on the field. When you have a situation like LSU does, and I'll give you an example of what we see when we're at practice. Normally, you have 12 to 15 guys, and it's very difficult for one guy to be able to be over an entire group of 15 dudes. What normally happens during run game is you have a split unit where you got where an analyst on one side and the offensive line coach on the other. Now you're garnering two really good and developmental coaches along your offensive line that can really help. I think James Craig is a fantastic offensive line coach. The way that it ended made LSU fans a little upset about him being here and coming back and some of that stuff. I'm like, well, that's a head scratcher. No, it's not a head scratcher at all. He's a really freaking good offensive line coach. And look what he's done with guys in the interior of his offensive lines wherever he's gone. I think a big reason, and I think Lane would tell you this as much, a big reason of some developmental stuff with James Craig on their offensive line at Ole Miss, that he was a big part of that. James Garrison was as well, and not taking anything away from him. But combining two guys that have a lot of extensive experience on how to develop and rebuild an offensive line is paramount. Guys, analysts being able to do this, you basically have two offensive line coaches. Well, Blake, who's the lead guy? Well, Eric Wolford's going to be your lead guy. But James Craig is also going to be a massive part in this run game. He was a massive part in the run game with Charlie Weiss last night. He was a massive part in what they did this season in the run game along the offensive line and continuing to be a part of that. To have him as an analyst is an outright steal. You have multiple guys that have been in the SEC and have done high-quality things in the SEC. When I look at Eric Wolford, I see a guy who, when Kentucky kind of went on a little bit of a stretch, guys, they were running the football. That's what they did. Cutter Boley stunk. You've seen James Craig, and you've seen his interior offensive line that he built from whether it be JUCO or recruiting. Look at the interior offensive line from 2019 and look at how much money they've garnered. Look at Anthony Bradford. Look at Damian Lewis. Look at Lloyd Cushenberry. Guys, combined, those three guys are roughly going to make around $100 million in the new contracts that they've signed post where they were and now where they are now. Whether it be from a recruiting standpoint or just a developmental standpoint, look at what he built. Bringing Eric Wolford and James Craig together, I think, is a massive deal because you don't have an offensive line room right now. Am I a little surprised that Weston Davis is not entering the portal at the current moment? Yes. Am I a little surprised that Solomon Thomas hasn't entered the portal right now? Well, you got 2 weeks, and we'll see and monitor that. I am surprised, but those two dudes, two five-star guys, need help with the development of side of things. I think that they look, meaning the new LSU staff, hey, Weston Davis has a lot of ability and a lot of things that we can work with, along with Solomon Thomas. We look at that and say, oh, man, in year one, they played very bad. Yeah, most guys in year one as a starter have a lot of rough moments. You know how I know, and a guy from Louisiana could tell you as much? Lance Hurd last season had a very, very hard time at left tackle. You transition to this year, and he's an all-SEC left tackle who, by the way, just went into the portal. Offensive line, and we do this so much with the new age of college football. Guy struggles, we got to go in the portal because he stinks. We don't want development anymore. We don't want it. You can't say that Brad Davis was a bad recruiter and misevaluating. You can't say he was bad at developing and not look at two guys that he did bring in, because I still think Weston Davis has a lot that he can offer, along with Solomon Thomas and Braylon Moore, who in the retention side of things, Braylon Moore is someone that they're trying to retain at a very high level. I say all that to say I think it's an outright steal that you have James Craig as an analyst and Eric Wolford as your offensive line coach. So that's where we sit there. They're going to have to recruit at a high level. They've offered a lot of kids out of the Midwest. They've needed to hire a lot of kids or recruit a lot of kids out of the Midwest. Quite frankly, you need to get tougher along your offensive line instead of being as soft as you have been. Some other staff things that we need to go to here. So Ross Dellinger is reporting that there is a chance, so a staff update here. Ross Dellinger of Yahoo Sports is reporting that the staff that is currently hired by LSU has been going back to Ole Miss, so the offensive staff may permanently leave Ole Miss during this playoff run to permanently join LSU. There are a lot of things that are going on with this right now. So after last night's game, the entire offensive staff is now in Baton Rouge. They're doing their duties with LSU, and I'm assuming, depending how all of this starts to transpire over the next couple of days, we'll either stay at LSU permanently because now the portal's open and you have a new job and you need to take care of that. But I do expect some to continue to help through this playoff run. Guys, this was always going to be a disaster. Always. I think Ole Miss has completely mismanaged this entire situation, and they're about to find out how bad things are going and can get if what Ross Dellinger is reporting is going to happen. I don't know of all of the coaches right now. I still think it's some of these things are getting worked out, that some of these coaches are going to leave them during the playoff. It seems as if Ole Miss wants the same thing. It seems as if LSU wants the same thing. But the reason that this is starting to happen is what we talked about last week. Ole Miss is preparing to file a tampering I don't want to say situation, but Ole Miss is preparing themselves to file an injunction, whether it be through the court system, whether it be through the NCAA, regardless of how they do it. They're going to be filing how do I want to do this? Because I think it's all petty, because they were doing it too. Ole Miss is planning to go after LSU for tampering. Now, we talked about this last week. LSU's entire offensive staff is currently still helping Ole Miss coach. You saw him last night. You saw Charlie Weiss completely be in his bag. You saw Charlie Weiss completely bail out, and I mean completely bail out Pete Golding and some of the things that he was doing. You saw the running backs coach in Kevin Smith. You saw George McDonald, who is your wide receivers coach, along with Sawyer Jordan. Look at what they've built. Look at what Lane built on that offensive side. Them being at Ole Miss and being hired by LSU is called massive tension, because there's a chance that guys like Deuce Alexander and guys like Winnie, the wide receiver, why am I thinking misremember? Winnie Watkins are intending to potentially enter the transfer portal and head to LSU. That is the current rumor right now. There are conversations that apparently people are talking about with guys like Kawan Lacey and then Trinidad Chambliss that LSU is actively, and we'll get to this in just a moment in more detail, that LSU is looking into what they can do as my computer and laptop continues to fall here. But LSU is looking into, with the NCAA through attorneys and getting the SEC involved in reference to this waiver, with Trinidad Chambliss, it started to cause a lot of tension. Pull the staff. If Ole Miss is going to sue you, if Ole Miss is going to say something to the NCAA about your current coaches tampering, guys, we talked about this last week. When LSU allowed and when Ole Miss allowed the new LSU offensive staff to be a part of their playoff run, if they have any conversations with the players at Ole Miss, it's already considered tampering. Already considered it. But you allowed it. And when that entire offensive staff went there, did you think that offensive players were not going to ask current staff that was there with Ole Miss this season and that are now going to LSU? Did you not think that LSU is not going to receive those questions and not going to answer those questions from former staff if they have a spot at LSU once their season is over? Coaches are allowed to do it. You just did it. You did it to LSU when they were still technically through a season. So there's a lot of questions that are going on about the future of players. Coach, am I going to have a spot at LSU? Yes, no, maybe so. Who knows all of those conversations that are happening behind closed doors? Do I think conversations, whether we want to admit it or not, has Trinidad Chambliss asked questions? I'm sure he has, because he's got to know what needs to do for his future. Kawan Lacey, Deuce Alexander, Winnie Watkins, those guys want to know their futures. And now Ole Miss, yet again, is getting butthurt. Those guys did not come to Ole Miss because of Ole Miss. They came there for the coaches and what Lane built. And it's about time that you understand that. You're tampering. Well, your entire offensive staff left and went with Lane Kiffin because they know what you're about to become. We're in the Final Four. Yeah, you got bailed out by guys that Charlie Weiss, Lane Kiffin, George McDonald, Dane Stevens, Sawyer Jordan, and Kevin Smith all brought in. And you know that. Now, this is not unprecedented, as we talked about last week. We've seen Lane Kiffin be a part of this himself when Nick Saban moved on from him and allowed Steve Sarkisian to call plays in a national title. Don't want them? Think they're tampering? Well, you can't file a lawsuit on LSU, and this is the part that bothers me the most. You mean to tell me that you're going to file a lawsuit on LSU and their current offensive staff when you're allowing them to coach you in the playoffs? If tampering's going on and you don't like it, tell them to hit the door. But of course, Ole Miss AD Keith Carter continues to mismanage this entire situation because he doesn't know what he's doing. You can't cry wolf when it only benefits you. And I will tell you, as God is my witness, you better be careful when you start going after tampering. When you hired Frank Wilson, when you hired Kevin Bolden, who was celebrating on the sidelines with Ole Miss last night. My brother in Christ, Kevin Bolden, you did nothing at LSU. You went after 4 dudes at your time at LSU, and you went 0-4. You're going to have the same impact at Ole Miss, and that's why you left Ole Miss. It's why you didn't get retained at LSU. Do you think Austin Thomas isn't doing things behind the scenes and tampering? If you believe that you're not doing it and that you're not also currently doing it, you're a damn fool. Make sure that your house is fully clean before you go out there and start throwing stones. Newsflash, it's not. It is not. Other player personnel people that could potentially go to Ole Miss as well, you better be careful because LSU also can fight this. This is what needs to happen. If you're Ole Miss players, if you want to be here, you're going to be here. If you're going to go with Lane and company, if you're going to go with the staff, go and go now. Go and go now. But you're not beating Miami without Charlie Weiss Jr. You're not beating Miami without this offensive staff, and you know it. So now you're in between a rock and a hard place. But you can't go out there crying about tampering when you're doing the same thing, and you and I both know that you are. So, it's completely different. LSU's interim head coach literally was a head coach for LSU this week and was on the sidelines for Ole Miss last night. Kevin Bolden was on the sidelines last night, and we don't give a shit. Austin Thomas was on the sidelines last night, and we don't care because that staff ran this place into the ground to some extent, not named Austin Thomas. You ran it into the ground. So LSU and Ole Miss are fighting right now, and I would assume that Ole Miss, because they got their panties in the wad and they don't know what big boy football really is. We're in the Final Four. Welcome to the show. Welcome to the show. We've been there. We've done that. You've not even remotely come close until right now, until Lane Kiffin built all of this, and now he's gone. If I'm LSU, I'm telling the staff, look, Charlie, if you want to go, by all means, go and do it. It seems like that they still want you because clearly they can't win without you. I think everybody else on LSU staff that's currently hired by LSU needs to stay at LSU because this is going to continue. This is going to continue to go on. And here's another thing. LSU needs to protect themselves. If Ole Miss is going to come out here, and Lane kind of warned everybody and took a public shot the other night during the LSU game. If LSU, if this is what's going to happen, what? I didn't need to know that, buddy. Sounds good. I didn't need to know it. All right, go play. Okay, don't need to know. Bye. See ya. Love you. Hey. Love you. All right, go play. There goes Ben. Anyway. LSU is going to need to protect themselves here. They got to protect themselves here. If you're going to form some form of lawsuit, by all means, you got to protect yourself. You're saying we're tampering. All right, well, you're in the playoffs. Guys, we hate to do this. Lane, we hate to do this. But what do you want me to do? If you're Verge Osbury, if you're the attorneys for LSU, I'm pulling them. I'm pulling them. You're going to have an interesting conversation with Charlie Weiss. Do I think Charlie Weiss is going to stay and wants to continue to call plays? He should. He should. Just being blunt. But these players are the ones wanting to know if they can go to LSU, not the other way around. Just so we're all understanding of this. They don't want to stay in Oxford. You're going to have to get over that fact. So, LSU does hire James Craig. I think it's a big deal. But now LSU and Ole Miss are starting to get in a little bit of a cat fight, which they say, oh, poor us. Look at LSU. My brothers and sisters in Christ. Keith Carter, you better ask Frank Wilson what he's doing. You better ask Austin Thomas and Kevin Bolden what they've been doing. And you better be sure you're accurate because you keep going through with this, you're going to get popped in the mouth. You kind of deserve it to be, and I mean metaphorically get popped in the mouth. They are tampering with us too. What happened with Harlem Berry? What happened with Deshaun Spears? Oh. Uh-huh. Is Caden Durham going to enter the portal? Is Destin Hill in the portal? Pot meet kettle. Pot meets kettle here. So, good for Ole Miss for beating Georgia. Good for them for being in the playoffs. LSU needs to protect themselves, and Ole Miss, a rival, they want to be at LSU. Screw them. Can't claim tampering when you're doing the same exact thing. All right. Any big news here, Brother Jack? No? Okay. I'm glad we got Brother Jack in the building. Producer Brandon was off today, so we got Brother Jack. Gotta love it. All right. Let me get to a quick break. Portal. Players staying, players being retained, players being announced. Who is LSU going after in the transfer portal? We talk about that next. Stay with us. Guys, let me tell you about our good friends over at Grand Slam Heating and Air, where your comfort is their top priority. At Grand Slam Heating and Air, they promise to provide customers with high-quality HVAC service at an affordable price while ensuring the homeowner peace of mind. From their office to your home, they guarantee the best hassle-free experience around. Efficiency and comfort is their game. Let them make your home Grand Slam today. At Grand Slam Heating and Air, they're offering their annual maintenance plan starting off at $18.75 a month and also doing those $99 tune-up promotion. They provide free estimates for system and ductwork replacement, as well as offering financing to get the job done with no money up front. From Baton Rouge to Hammond to Covington, they're all around. So what you need to do today, give them a call at 225-380-9065. That's 225-380-9065. Or go over to their website, getgrandslamair.com. That's getgrandslamair.com, where your comfort is their top priority. Guys, I want to talk to you about our good friends over the Drake Williams Law Firm and Drake Title Company. Are you facing tough times due to an injury from a car accident, navigating the complexities of divorce, or purchasing a new home? At the Drake Williams Law Firm and Drake Title Company, they understand the challenges you're going through, and they are here to help. The lawyer team of Ernie Drake III, Ryan J. Williams, and Summer Vignair, along with Morgan Daniels, have the experience and proven track record to give you that peace of mind. Give them a call today at 985-386-7600. That's 985-386-7600 to schedule a free consultation at their brand new office located in historic downtown Ponchatoula. They're also doing a special, the AYS special. If you're refinancing or closing on a home in Southeast Louisiana, request the Drake Title Company to handle your closing. If you mention Blake Ruffino and AYS, you're going to receive a $400 discount on title fees. Again, give them a call at 985-386-7600. Let them know that Blake Ruffino sent you on by. We're back. Just to clarify something, I do think Charlie Weiss Jr. stays to the end of the playoff. Other coaches, I don't. I think some of them will move on and stay at LSU. But Charlie Weiss, I think the agreement that he made with Lane is that he would come if he was able to finish out the season. I do fully expect Charlie Weiss Jr. to stay at Ole Miss through this playoff run, which I think is going to end next week. That's just me personally. I thought it was going to end this past week, and then Trinidad Chambliss went off. So it is what it is there. But 100%, I do expect Charlie Weiss Jr. to stay with Ole Miss during the playoff run, and quite honestly, it's okay. But you can't clamber tampering and say to yourself, there's going to have to be an interesting conversation with LSU and Charlie Weiss, like, hey, man, they're putting you in a lawsuit. They are actively suing you. If Ole Miss does put Charlie Weiss in that lawsuit, you can't do it. And I don't expect them to do that and file any kind of lawsuit for what it's worth until after the playoff, because they know what they're doing. And Charlie Weiss better not trust Pete Golding. He better not trust Keith Carter and their attorneys not to do it. I told you this the other day, and just to kind of before we move on, Walter Jones, the CEO of their collective, has got to be one of the most naive human beings on the face of the earth, because you know and I know that you're currently talking to people and players on LSU's roster. You know that. I know. If I know that, you know that. Because I know that you're talking to him. I do expect Charlie Weiss to stay. With that being said, with all of that being said, the fact just remains for me that I do think some of these coaches, for what it's worth, are not going to continue with Ole Miss, and well, we'll go from there. All right. So LSU has been announcing some of the players that are going to be retained and that are going to be coming back for next season. They've been putting it on their official social medias. The very last thing that we talked about on Tuesday before we had the holiday was retention is key. We talked about Whit Weeks. Whit Weeks announced that he is going to be coming back for his final season at LSU. We'll get to that in just a moment. A massive deal. Harlan Berry, before it was announced when we were live, LSU is done and doing everything to retain him. They have. We'll talk on that in just a moment. There are a couple other players that are out there that they are targeting to lock down. Now, DJ Pickett was another. They have got that one. PJ Woodland was another, and they locked that one down as well. We wait on the status of Trey'Dez Green, and this is where I want to start off. As I've been saying for the last couple of weeks, I know that there was a rumor out there by some people in our media corps that were getting a little iffy on this thing with Trey'Dez Green. Trey'Dez Green, and we've talked about this if you've been watching the show. Trey'Dez is not going to take a hometown discount. He doesn't need to. He's arguably the best player on your roster right now. LSU is going to do what they need to do to retain him, and we need to make sure that that goes through. And I think LSU is doing everything they can to retain him. I expect an announcement. I don't want to say soon, but I would expect an announcement. Money is not going to be the reason that Trey'Dez Green moves on from here. It just, if things get absolutely ridiculous, potentially, they're not there yet. And I think that they're going to retain him. Another player that we were going to talk about today, but it was already announced, was Don McKinley, that they wanted to retain. They have done so as well. So Trey'Dez Green and Braylon Moore, your center, are the two players that LSU really focused in with Billy Glasscock, Lane Kiffin, and company to retain here. I don't mean this in a negative way. I don't think that there are other players that they think that if they were to leave, that LSU couldn't live without. Braylon Moore, Trey'Dez Green are the only two unsigned that they're really, really focusing on right now per sources. I think they're going to get those two done, and an announcement could be, an announcement could be coming as of right now. I just saw Jack put something in the notes, so I get a little skittish. Hold on. I need a refresh. Stand by. All right, we're back here. Needed a refresh. But those are the two that LSU is trying to lock in on. Deshaun Spears did announced that Trey'Dez Green. Deshaun Spears was going to be entering the transfer portal. And I tweeted this out, and a couple of things. Leverage is a sucker. And these players have it. Deshaun Spears was another one of those players that they were trying to hold on to, and they did. They did everything they needed to do from a financial standpoint, from a recruiting standpoint, and retention standpoint to hold on to Deshaun Spears. I think Deshaun Spears is going to be a bona fide stud, man. I've told this story before. The Denham Springs head coach, Brett Beard, could attest to this. I am a massive fan of Deshaun Spears. Always have been. When it was announced that he was going to the portal, it was a little head-scratching because what I had been told is that they were going to do everything they could to retain him. And I thought that would have been locked down. What it seems as if, and I know that there's a false story out there about this, that there was some miscommunication about LSU going after safety Derek Williams. Do I think that Derek Williams piqued interest saying that he would come to LSU? Yes. Do I think LSU is going to turn down Texas safety Derek Williams? Yes. I do not expect LSU to completely go after Derek Williams because they have Deshaun Spears. Guys, I really do believe Deshaun Spears is going to be one of the best safeties in the SEC next year. He has grown so much. He is a guy. So now you have Tamarcus Cooley. Now you have Deshaun Spears as your safeties. I do still think that you need another safety. I do. I think you need another safety in the sense of either developmental piece or somebody that can rotate in and be a part of your three if Cooley does indeed go down to that slot position. Are there some guys in that room that they really like? Yes. But Javian Toviano and Joel Rogers have both entered the transfer portal and are no longer going to be there. From what I gather as well, there is a very, very, very big push to also keep another young safety in Chase Thomas, who I would just say this, I think that Ole Miss also wants. I'll leave that there. Chase Thomas, I also believe, is going to be a really good player. In reference to Deshaun Spears, the former Brian Kelly staff did not talk to them until they started getting screamed at. Kerry Cooks did not want to have the conversation until some things behind the scenes happened. I'll also leave that there. But there are many people that can attest of massive screaming matches before that young man got an offer, and he did. He's going to be a bona fide stud. He is one of the best ball hawks I think that we've had in quite some time. Does he need to get a little bit better in tackling? I thought the Houston game he did phenomenally. Had 6 tackles in the first half, and they started going away from him. I think your secondary, now that you have officially retained P.J. Woodland, DJ Pickett, and Deshaun Spears, is going to be one of the better ones. DJ Pickett and locking him down is also a massive deal. I am kind of glad that DJ had some struggles in that bowl game with Houston, because when I look at that, that's only a building block for him. A lot of times teams in the SEC went at him, they didn't have a lot of success. Now you get into the offseason and you get to work. Guys, I am very, very, very much excited about the young talent that you have in that secondary. Deshaun Spears, DJ Pickett, who you did exactly what you needed to do to retain him, and along with P.J. Woodland. Guys, P.J. Woodland, for what it's worth, I thought had the biggest season in reference to growth on this entire LSU team. Woodland had 41 tackles this year, 1.5 tackles for loss with a sack, with 2 interceptions, but he also had 9 PBUs on the season. P.J. Woodland has been absolutely fantastic in your DB room on the opposite side of it was either DJ Pickett or whether it was himself on the opposite side of Mansour Delane. P.J. Woodland is going to be one of those guys, a 3-star guy out of Mississippi that you ironically beat Ole Miss for, is one of the better corners in the SEC. You like to go man coverage, and you got 2 corners on the outside that can go man coverage. So you have locked down your secondary and DJ Pickett and P.J. Woodland, and now in Deshaun Spears, and you will continue to do some things with Tamarcus Cooley. I expect him to come back as well. Whit Weeks, before we move to the offensive side of things, Whit Weeks, the middle linebacker who played in 8 games this season, also announced his return. Guys, I think you know a lot of things that are going on behind the scenes with him in reference to that regard. Let's get on the field, because everybody's like, oh, well, Lane's here, Lanekiffin's here. Do I think that played a massive part of it? Yes. Do I think that the way that the season ended for Whit Weeks was also a massive factor here? Yes. And LSU did what they needed to do. Lane was very vocal in retaining Whit Weeks and talking about, guys, listen, you can say whatever you want. We have to retain him because defensively we think that he can take a next step, and he is our signal caller. He is our quarterback on the defensive side of things, and they're going to retain him. Whit did not have the season that he wanted. In the last 2 seasons, he's had 156 tackles, 13 tackles for loss, 4.5 sacks, and a pair of interceptions. Health is going to be a big deal for him. Do I think that you need somebody to potentially be on the opposite side of him? Maybe. But LSU feels at the current moment, from what I understand, with guys like Charles Ross, Devon Keys, Breaker, and others, that they feel like that they have a very good core and nucleus at the backer position. C.J. Ross being one of them, and a guy that can outright fly. They also announced that he would be returning. Guys, it was very apparent what happened to you defensively when Whit Weeks got hurt. You got worse. You vehemently got worse. Holding on to him and not having a very young room will be a massive deal. They feel like that they have a lot of talent there. I agree, but it's a lot of inexperience that is in that room, so you hold on to him. Another defensive player before we move on here, Don McKinley, the former 5-star defensive tackle. It was announced that he is also going to be retained. So a couple of things about Don McKinley that we need to discuss. Number one, does Don McKinley have the ability inside the interior that you need? Yes. He is very strong when he's playing with right pad level. He is very successful and very good. Don McKinley is going to have a big offseason. He's going to have to get to work on his pad level. He is playing too high. Is it a big deal to retain him? Yes, because that interior of that defensive line is very young. You need a couple of defensive linemen in that interior that can go alongside him. I know that they are very high on some of the young interior defensive linemen that they have. You're bringing in Richard Anderson, Deuce Geralds, Lamar Brown, who, sidebar, Lamar Brown said that Kevin Peoples may be his position coach. He worked at edge, he worked at DT, and he worked at guard during the All-American practices and dominated for what it's worth. Does LSU move him at guard if they absolutely need to in year one because they need depth? There's a strong possibility, but I also think that he wants to play defense, and they're going to allow him to do that. You have a lot of young talent there. Trent Henderson also coming in. You need another experienced guy in that room. They have some sophomore defensive tackles that they really like and want to develop, and they feel good there. You need another DT. In reference to Don McKinley, holding on to him is a big deal. He's got to get that pad level down. If he were sitting right here in the studio, I would tell him the same exact thing. He's got to play lower and more with more leverage. He must, or he's going to continue to have some of the same issues that he's been having. Guys, the bona fide truth of all of this is he has not had the level of production that a five-star dude should have through his second year. He just hasn't. He had 12 tackles this season, two tackles for loss, and a sack. He's got to get better there. Quite simply, he's got to be better there. So, Don McKinley, do I think he's got a high level, or let me say this. Do I think Don McKinley has a very high floor? 100%. Do I think he's got to start playing with more pad level? Also, yes. A lot of these guys have to have a big offseason. I'm excited about Nick Savage and what he could do with a guy like Don McKinley. Let's move to the offensive side of the ball before we get to the portal. Harlem Berry is returning to LSU, and arguably one of the biggest things that you have done is hold on and retain Harlem Berry. They know what they have in him. I have talked about this for the last 2 weeks. A deal was signed this week to retain him in Baton Rouge. Now let's talk about the story. Kevin Smith got off the plane in Baton Rouge 10 days ago, and the first thing that happened, and I told you this, exactly when it happened. We were live that night. The first thing that Kevin Smith did was he got, Lane Kiffin and company walked him and his wife around the new facility. They did some things, in reference to bringing them in here. And they got there at around 10:30, 11 o'clock during the day. Around 1:30, they had a meeting with Harlem Berry and his family. And they sold him on the vision. And we talked about that. Money is money is money. They were never going to let him walk for money. Wasn't going to happen. Something we also discussed. It was about the vision of where they were going to utilize him and how they do it. I think Harlem Berry is going to be one of the best players that you have on this roster moving forward in the next couple of seasons. You need thunder to his lightning. He is not a guy that you can have run the football 10 to 15 to 20 times in between the tackles. Kawan Lacey is. And we'll talk about that when we get into the portal here in just a moment. He is a guy that Lane Kiffin, I have been told, and along with Charlie Weiss and others, and Kevin Smith, absolutely adore. I've brought this up before to the Berry family, and I'm not guessing with this. They have been told, hey, I was the OC when we had Lindell and when we had Reggie. We can do the same thing here. That vision has been sold. The money has been locked down, and you're retaining Harlem Berry. I think the kid's special. I really do. He was misutilized. Frank Wilson had no idea how to utilize him the correct way. He didn't. I hate to say it like that, but he didn't. Benching him and after a fumble was ridiculous. It was malpractice. With that being said, they're very excited to retain him along with Kevin Smith. They sold the vision, and they landed on the vision. We talked about Trey'Dez Green. Oh, let me back up on the running back position. LSU still going after backs. Bar none. So be prepared for it. You retained Harlem Berry, you need depth. And I do think Caden Durham enters the portal. Is it official right now? Are conversations being had? Yes. Do I think he potentially hits the portal? Also, yes. Trey Green. Guys, in reference to retention, here's just the truth. There's nobody on LSU's retention board that LSU wants to hold on to more than Trey Green. The words that hit this here phone here were that they are, and pause, salivating at the opportunity to be able to have Trey Green on their team and how they want to utilize him. Do I think Trey Green is going to give LSU a hometown discount here? No. Should he? No. Should you pay him? Yes. Do I think he's the best player on your roster right now? Also, yes. So as we wait for an announcement for Trey Green, this is what I'll tell you. Do I feel very confident at this exact moment that LSU is going to retain Trey Green? Yes. Do I think that they have done everything humanly possible to retain him? Yes. Do I think that there could be an announcement soon on Trey Green staying at LSU? Yes. Is this over? No. So everybody can have a high level of confidence. Everybody can see where things are going, where things currently at. Is this thing over at 1:58 p.m. Central Standard Time? No, not right now. Could things have happened since we've been live? Yeah. They want to retain Trey Green. A lot like Harlem Berry, that does not mean that they're not going in the portal. Donovan Green also entered the transfer portal. You have 3 scholarship tight ends because you're bringing in one from the high school ranks, J.D. LaFleur and Trey Green. Is J.D. LaFleur going to be able to block on the end line of scrimmage? Did you see how last night Charlie Weiss used multiple tight ends? Luke Haas was one of the players that caught one of Trinidad Chambliss's touchdowns. They want to utilize a guy at the end line of scrimmage and a guy that they can put in the slot. What does that sound like to you? Can J.D. LaFleur be that guy on the end line of scrimmage? We will see. Do I think LSU goes after another tight end in the portal? Yes. That does not mean that they're not playing Trey Green, because they're 1,000% going to get him the football. I think, and I've said this, he is a future. I think he could be a future Hall of Famer. That's how good I think Trey Green is. But they're doing everything to retain him, and we'll wait for that announcement here. And I'm just waiting for Jack to put inside the chat that we've retained him officially. I feel very confident about where things currently are. Have other teams gotten into the mix here in reference to saying, hey, well, we would pay you X? Yes. So we'll continue to go on with that. All right. Whew. I said an hour and 26 minutes. I think we're going to go past it. And we got super chats that we got to get to here. Let's get to the transfer portal. We always start off with quarterbacks, right? Isn't that where we always start off with? Let's get to quarterbacks. So, as we discussed over the last couple of days, the last time you and I discussed, Brennan Sorsby, the Cincinnati quarterback, was someone that you and I massively discussed. Brennan Sorsby was someone that you and I discussed that I thought fit what Lane and Charlie like to do more than any quarterback in the portal because of his legs. Sam Levitt is a part of that. It was reported today that Brennan Sorsby is taking a visit today, as we currently speak, to Texas Tech, and he's also taking a visit to LSU tomorrow. Let me tell you how this is going to play out. One of two things. Either Texas Tech, after being humiliated in the playoffs, is going to give Brennan Sorsby a level of money that he just cannot turn away from. There is a strong possibility of that. The current sentiment coming out of Texas Tech is we don't want him to leave. There's also a personal connection there that could keep Sorsby there. But Texas Tech just got humiliated by Oregon in the playoff, and Brendan Morton was absolutely god-awful. It does not mean that LSU is not trying to push for him. Like I told you last Tuesday, and like I will tell you today on Friday, LSU and Texas Tech, and now it's being nationally reported, and we discussed this on Tuesday. We'll repeat that again. LSU and Texas Tech are going to get in a dogfight for Brendan Sorsby, whether we want to admit that or not. LSU, I think, has the ability, and I feel confident right now that they will get a visit from him. But when we talk about the new age of college football, money is money is money. And money will make people do a lot of things. Do I think Texas Tech, and I have heard Texas Tech was going to offer him around $5 million. I think that that's a little bit of a bluff. I don't think they will go that high. Do I think LSU likes him the most and has him the number one on their board? If not number one, damn near on top of it? Also, yes. I think the kid can flat out play. And I have said as much. I think he is a top-tier dude. We need LSU, I hope, is able to land him just for a visit. Because I think if you can get him here on a visit, he might not leave. But he's going to go to Texas Tech first. Because Texas Tech has a lot of money. And he's played in the Big 12. When I look at this, I say, same amount of money, playing at LSU, playing for Lane Kiffin, being in the SEC. It seems like a no-brainer. But people make decisions based off of how they view things, not how we as LSU fans view things. If it gets out later today that Sorsby is going to be in a situation where he's not going to come, well, then you already know. But the number one goal, and we talked about this on December 15th, the number one goal right now is for LSU to get him out of Lubbock tonight and into Baton Rouge tomorrow. Do I think that LSU is in a unique position right now? Yes. But they want him on campus, and they're going to do everything they can to get him on campus. I hope that they can. Trinidad Chambliss, who massively went off last night. So, let's wrap the Trinidad Chambliss thing in a bow here. I have said multiple times, and I thought it was foolish to talk about Trinidad Chambliss until we started getting some more finality on where things currently sit. LSU is currently getting themselves, attorneys, the SEC involved to get a better understanding from the NCAA if he is going to get a waiver of another year of eligibility. If he were to get another year of eligibility soon, do I think that LSU would do everything humanly possible to get him to go in the portal and get him to come to LSU? Yes. Do I think that he is their number one target and this is a little bit of a difficult situation? Yes, because you can't wait at quarterback. You cannot wait. We'll see what happens with Michael Van Buren. But at the current moment, you cannot wait for Trinidad, as horrible as that sounds. Do I think you're taking a massive risk if you wait and that waiver does not get passed? If he goes into another playoff game and goes off, I don't know if it benefits him for what it's worth to come back in general. I think that he will get drafted and could get drafted very highly. That doesn't help LSU because they want him to come here. I think that they want Trinidad. And you play with fire if you don't go after Brennan Sorsby. You play with fire if you go after Sam Levitt and you land on one of those two, or you pass on those two. You expect Trinidad Chambliss to come here and he doesn't get a waiver. They're going to have to play a little bit of Russian roulette. Let's just call it Cajun roulette here to see what happens. Do they want him? Yeah. Do I think that he wants to follow Charlie Weiss and Lane? I've been told as much. We will see what happens there. But I'm being very cagey in reference to talking about Trinidad because, guys, I don't know what the NCAA is going to do. I have no clue. I don't think they know. And I don't trust them as far as I can throw them. So you get to a place where with Trinidad, would I love him at LSU? Yes. Do I think he's a bona fide dude? Yes. Would it help you in a transition to a guy that understands the offense to teach everybody around him? Yes. Do I think it's a massive risk to wait for Trinidad Chambliss? Also, yes. It's going to be interesting to see what happens there. The dude, as you saw last night against Georgia, not only once but twice, can flat out ball. And if he does that again against Miami, by all means, he's going to garner some NFL draft buzz. But they do want him. Lastly, on the quarterback, Sam Leavitt. Kentucky has gotten into this mix here with Joe Sloan, yes, that Joe Sloan, and Will Stein. There has been conversations that we discussed even as of last Tuesday. I think teams really want to know what his health status is. If you told me, and this is an opinion, I know the other reports that are out there. I think LSU's big board goes Chambliss, Sornsby, and then Sam Leavitt. Opinion. Do I think Sam Leavitt's a good player? Yes. I think he's a great quarterback. He can move. He's got a good arm. He can be accurate. He's exactly what Lane and Charlie would look for. But he also has a do not contact. And I saw a report out there that said a player that has a do not contact means that he knows where he's going. That is false in this situation. Sources confirm. Not guessing. Kentucky, Oregon, LSU, Miami are all in this mix. So when it means do not contact, if you're not Kentucky, if you're not Miami, if you're not LSU, if you're not Oregon, we're not talking to you. We talked about this with Oregon. Guys, I really think Dante Moore is looking to stay. I think another year would benefit him. He's also Mel Kiper's number one on his big board. We'll see what happens with Oregon. Will Stein is massively selling being a part of his offense at Kentucky and that we're high flying. Miami's got a crap load of money as well as you, along with Lane Kiffin. I have no idea where he's going to lean. But Kentucky is very much emerged in this situation, and they're starting to give Will Stein some money. So we'll see what happens there. Let's move on. Well, I got one more quarterback that we need to discuss. Oklahoma State quarterback Hoss Haney, a very, very athletic, skilled, and fast quarterback. There are a couple of G5 teams that are after Hoss Haney. So is LSU. LSU is also looking for a third quarterback. We have talked about multiple times on this show that they're going to look to bring in two quarterbacks from the portal. They don't have a choice. Hoss Haney could potentially be one of them. From people that I talk about, there have been conversations with Haney in reference to being developed for a year and then being the guy after whoever, whether it be Trinidad, Sornsby, or Leavitt, if they land one of those three, that he's the developmental guy after that. Would battle with Michael Van Buren. Yes, that's what how the current things move unless Van Buren gets into the portal. Hoss Haney, I'll just say this. It's going to be very interesting to watch him. He's extremely athletic and can flat out move. They like him. Do I think LSU is selling something big and a bigger picture to him? Yes. Keep your eyes on Hoss Haney and how things move forward. Couple of other things here. Let's move past quarterback very quickly. Kicker Evan Noel, who committed to Florida and was with Joe Houston, your new special teams coordinator. I massively expect LSU to be involved here. I think that you're going to get a new kicker. This kid can flat out kick. What does that mean for Aaron Burrell? I don't know. I do not know. Joe Houston, for what it's worth, has been very good with the SP Plus and from other metrics that cover special teams. He wants his guy. Evan Noel, the place kicker, is who I would keep my eyes out on as well. Joe Houston's been a really good special teams coordinator. It was an announcement yesterday by On3 that UAB wide receiver Iverson Hooks, who had 72 catches, 927 yards, and 7 touchdowns, is going to be taking a visit on January the 7th and 8th to LSU. Typical Lane Kiffin wide receiver. They love those very fast slot guys. Now, I'm going to stop right there because we got to talk about the wide receiver position, and it's why I haven't talked about guys that have left at the wide receiver position yet when it comes to guys that are departing LSU. It was announced. So Iverson Hooks, we'll talk about him in just a minute. But Kyle Parker and Destin Hill have announced that they're entering the portal. LSU at the current moment has 3 scholarship wide receivers. They have Phillip Wright. They have, and I'm talking about guys that are on the roster, not high school. They have Phillip Wright, Teron Francis, and Nick Anderson. I do think Nick Anderson potentially is going to test the waters and see where he's at both situations, whether he stays at LSU or enters the portal. That is currently up in the air, not guessing with that either. So even if Nick Anderson stays, it doesn't really matter because you'd have 2 and or 3 scholarship wide receivers. You have a complete overhaul at that position. You got a complete reset. Now you got Corey Barber that is coming in from the high school ranks that you flip from Ole Miss that they really like. And Jabari Mack at a Destrehan also is going to stay, which Lane has really been pushing him on social media because he goes, I'm an LSU guy. That's where I'm going. Come beat me out. I'm ready for competition. I love that mindset from Jabari Mack, and I think Jabari Mack can flat out play. But you're going into the portal for wide receiver. You are going to get a visit from Iverson Hooks, who is fast, electric, runs great routes, and is someone that we've seen over the last 6 years when Lane orchestrates an offense, a guy that fits for you and in his system. He could dominate in some situations here. You get him the ball, and he is a firebug on the outside at the perimeter. Doesn't really like going into the inside as much. He's a smaller guy, but a guy that can flat out fly. You saw the receivers last night, and Caden Lee being one of them, how they like to utilize, how George McDonald and Sawyer Jordan and Lane Kiffin and Charlie Weiss like to design their wide receiver room. Iverson Hooks would be a part of that guy in the slot that they would use. In reference to wide receiver, before we get to some Ole Miss players, Nick Marsh out of Michigan State is a guy that we've talked about, and also thereafter. Notre Dame and LSU are going to be massively into that. Why he would go to Notre Dame over LSU is beyond me. Beyond me. Look what Harrison Wallace, who was at Penn State and went to Ole Miss, did last night. Notre Dame is Notre Dame, and they're a good program. I'm not saying that they're not. I love Mike Denbrock to death. You ain't going to get that level of production at Notre Dame that you're going to get at LSU. That is going to be their selling point along with money. Nick Marsh is someone, along with Andrew, his brother, that we need to monitor. Couple of other things that we're going to have to monitor here that we're just going to have to wait and see. Winnie Watkins and Deuce Alexander are 2 guys that are currently at Ole Miss. We have talked about the both of them. They're not in the portal. However, I think that they will be. When you talk about the quote-unquote tampering that Ole Miss is getting butthurt about, everyone looks at Trinidad and they look at Kawan Lacey. Not sure that that's because that's known. Everybody knows that battle. But LSU's not tampering, the agents are. The same is happening with Alexander and Watkins. They're seeing how much money they can garner from both. We'll get to Kawan Lacey in just a moment. I fully expect Winnie Watkins to enter the portal. Alexander, I anticipate. I don't know. But there is a chance that you're definitely going after Iverson Hooks. You're going after Nick Marsh. And I think 2 Ole Miss wide receivers could potentially follow, and that's where you sit. There's a strong possibility that you go after 5 receivers and try to land 5 to rebuild that room. You don't have a choice. I thought Cortez Hankton, who is now the new wide receivers coach at Ohio State, good Lord. I thought that he massively misevaluated and he completely ruined the room. He was not a big benefactor. This is where you missed Frank. Frank saved Cortez in recruiting. Cortez went after the Tristan Keys and DeCorian Moore, and when push came to shove, LSU wouldn't pay. That is not an opinion. From someone who has an inside track on the DeCorian Moore thing, I've been vocal on this. Guys, that kid wanted to be here. I'm just going to be blunt with you. I don't think there's any LSU media member that's been involved in that situation more than myself. For obvious reasons. Cortez couldn't land. He needed to go out there and raise money and just thought that he could do other things, and Frank saved him in recruiting, just being blunt. You got a full-blown rebuild at wide receiver. And I think that those are the 4 to 5 guys that you're going to go after. Couple of other notes here. Xavier Gilliam, the Penn State defensive tackle, is someone I'm keeping my eyes on as well. But he's not the only one. Chaz Coleman is somebody else I'm watching too. I don't know where those are going to land as of right now. We will see. You need edge. Last but not least, before we get to some of the big portal names. Lance Hurd has entered the portal. Do I think that you will have a conversation with Lance Hurd and his representation? Yes. Do I know where it's going to go? No. My man's an all SEC left tackle. You don't have one. And I am not paying Tyree Adams Lance Hurd money. I'll leave it there. One guy has the experience and is an all SEC left tackle. The other one is not. The other one got injured the last 2 seasons and couldn't finish the season. Do I think conversations will happen? Yes. At this current moment in juncture, I have no idea where that stands. So we'll see. In reference to the big portal players, Cam Coleman, Isaac Brown, and DJ Lagway. Guys, there's a reason why I overreacted. Some of you said I overreacted to DJ Lagway. I didn't overreact. DJ Lagway is going to be probably the 4th, 5th, maybe even 6th quarterback that you look at. Do I think conversations happened? Yeah, they casted a wide net. But DJ Lagway is potentially going to be taking visits to Baylor, Louisville, Missouri, and Virginia. Notice that there's not one school in there named LSU. It was misleading because it always was. Why put that report out there that they're talking? Because you know what you're doing. Wasn't going to happen. Cam Coleman and Isaac Brown. I can throw them both in the same category here. I don't know how else to say this. Texas is about to spend a shitload of money. And they're about to spend a shitload of money for Cam Coleman and Isaac Brown. Do I think that you can compete with them on it? No, I don't. No, I don't. Because if they go to 3.5, if you go to 3, they'll go to 3.5. If you go to 3.75, they'll go to 4. They don't give a shit. They're going to go all in on those guys, man. And I think it's a bona fide situation here. Jaden Ball was somebody that Texas was after. Speaking of tampering, he hadn't entered. And they moved on from him. Isaac Brown likely, I think, along with Cam Coleman, feel to me that they're going to go to Texas. Do I think LSU would have conversations with both? Yes. Do I think it matters? No. Not right now. Unless something changes, which something can change. Something can change. We're getting an update here. Jack just Jack just told me that Lane tweeted a tiger emoji. He's doing his best. He's doing his best Jay Johnson impersonation. Let's see here. Need to text somebody. How about Lane? All right. Did we miss anything? Jack, did I miss anything? No. Okay. All right. Let's get to some super chats here. Why are people still tagging me in this? By the way, why are y'all tagging me in DJ Lagway like I was the one pushing him? I'm not the one pushing him. The tweet is from December the 15th. I'm just throwing it out there. First and foremost, on December the 15th, let me just say this. On December the 15th, I was pushing the Brennan Sorsby thing because it was what I was told. If they had a pick today, it would have been Sorsby without Trinidad Chambliss. Guys, I don't guess with this shit. All right. SMR Collective with a $2 super chat says, hey, Blake, any updates on Sorsby and any offensive linemen? We discussed that. Offensive lineman at the current moment, no. We'll see how that transpires. Landon Weber with a $20 super chat says, I wish people would stop entertaining these Ole Miss fans. They are lashing out at LSU like a jealous ex. They are, I agree. They will claim they are better off till next year when they realize they ain't crap without Lane and that staff. I fully agree. And Landon also gifted 10 AYS memberships. Thank you, Landon. I greatly appreciate that. That means 10 of you will be gifted through YouTube. Will be gifted a membership, Landon. Thank you so much. Yeah, you're right. And I need to be better at that. Let me tell you what I'm not going to stop doing, though, Landon. Did y'all see Old Rose Sports today going after Cookie, the Lane's nephew? I ain't standing for that shit. Look, all this shit's funny. Guys, this is football. This is football. Going after kids is where I draw a line. It's where I draw a line. In reference to going back and forth with them, you're probably right. It means nothing. They're preparing to sue you. I mean, that's what they're lining up right now. So we'll see. Oh. Seems like Lane Kiffin's already got him a commit. Let's see if we can find it out during the super chats. If we find out, I'll give it up here. Get Gooder with a $10 super chat says, I'll be transferring to LSU. They don't know it. Not a walk-on, but I will walk in the stadium every game to play. Probably won't play good, but I'll talk shit to the other team. I love it. I absolutely love it. CJ Bailey is also announced that he's staying at NC State. Yeah, I mean, that's why we never entertained it. Why we never once entertained it. So, not once. Not once. Trying to figure out here. Announcement coming within 24 hours. Okay. Well, there's going to be a portal announcement soon. And there's probably going to be a high school announcement soon too. I would assume. So good on Lane for getting his first recruit here. Brian Daly with a massive $50 super chat says, I turned 54 January the 9th. Biopsy January the 12th. Thanks for keeping my mind off of that. Well, Brian, I hope that you have a good procedure here, man. I hope everything goes well, and we're praying for you, buddy. And I'm glad that this show can get your mind off of it. I really, really, really do. Here's all too well for you. Thank you for the super chat, man. Glad that you're here with us. Hope everything goes well, man. We'll be praying for you. Broad337 with a $5 super chat says, I'm tired of the tweets from Lane about Ole Miss too, though. You're at LSU now, so it's both sides. Here's the thing I'd say. You knew what you were getting with Lane. You knew what you were getting. And I think that Lane, for what it's worth, he's going to keep poking the bear, and there's nothing you're going to do to stop it. So you better get ready for it. Another thing in that too, guys, there's a chance that they're suing him. Lane ain't going to be quiet on that, nor do I think he should be. Melissa Bennett became a member on the YouTube channel. Thank you so much, Melissa. Today's Friday. Jack, today's Friday, right? Yeah. We may be doing some members-only content tomorrow. I was waiting to do the members-only content the other day because I thought that we were going to get a Harlan Berry and Tradez Green announcement, and then we were going to do some stuff there, but we'll wait and see. We'll wait and see. Shaquan with a $100 super chat, a massive super chat from Shaquan here. Thank you so much, my good sir. He says, how demoralizing is it for a defense like us getting stop after stop and multiple turnovers, then the offense goes 3 and out and punts it right back? What's the message to the players? Like, is Blake Baker just like, hey, how long, long as we do our part, that's all we can do? Thoughts? Oh, it was completely demoralizing. Completely and 1,000% demoralizing. You know, there was some stuff during the season that, you know, like they were getting on, you know, BK was getting on to Blake Baker when just, guys, you're gonna get, guys, look what Georgia did twice to Ole Miss. Does their defense suck? I mean, defensively, do I think you got to get better at edge? Yes. Are you perfect? No. Me and Carter did this entire offseason. Guys, I told you you'd be a top 30 defense. I said, I think LSU is going to be right at top 30. They ended at 27. I know what I saw at practices. Do they have room to get better? Yes. But do I think they could have been much better if offensively they had any pulse whatsoever? Also, yes. And that's with you not being able to generate a pass rush, really, at edge. It was demoralizing. I know to a lot of people in that locker room it was too. And let me tell you this. I think some players defensively got after some of the superstars offensively, mainly at quarterback, for not doing some of the right things. Aaron with a $5 super chat says, last night's game just made me that much more excited about the offense next year. Weiss called a great game. Look, it's what we talked about the other day. And I know that the clip got posted, and I'm glad that it did. Guys, Charlie Weiss Jr. is by far one of the best play callers in the country when it comes to the offensive side of things. A lot of people have asked, is it Lane? Is it Charlie? Well, it's both, because it's still the system that they put in. And there's a reason why Lane gives over play calling duties to a guy like that. You don't allow some of these great defensive play callers, when they give over play calling duties, they're doing it because they think that they have a guy that could do it at a top-notch level. The game last night with Charlie Weiss and Trinidad Chambliss and the way that they called it and the things that they did against Georgia was flawless. Guys, they did the same. They scored the same amount of points, damn near the same amount of points when they went on the road to Georgia that what they did to them in the Sugar Bowl. I mean, it was a flawless display, and Charlie Weiss is now going to be doing that at LSU. You're going to be restructuring this whole thing offensively. Guys, you should be excited about what you're getting. He is a top-notch coordinator with a top-notch play caller as your head coach. There's a lot to be excited about. There's a lot to move forward with here. And last night's display from Charlie Weiss and the play calling, where on 3rd and short, you run a fade route and you connect on it and you end a game, was flawless. He's been around football. Guys, at 17 or 16, 14, whatever it was, he had a headset on the sidelines at Notre Dame with his dad. He was built for this. He was made for this, and I'm very excited that he's going to be coming to LSU, and you should be. Very excited. AD Carter says Zeus is an ID10T problem. Idiot is an idiot. Yeah, he's an idiot. He's an idiot. I agree. He's completely mismanaged this entire situation here. Digital Fish with a $10 super chat says, set next to Trey S. Green's family at the bowl game. His siblings are as big as him. Yeah. They're LSU through and through. They still need to pay the man. They're going to pay the man. I feel very confident where that's going. Very, very confident where that's going. They're going to pay the man. They're going to pay the man. They're going to pay the man. So we'll see. I feel very confident what they've done. Is it over with as of right now? No. Is it trending very rapidly in that direction? Yes. So we'll see. It's not over with, though. It's not over. 318 West with a $2 super chat says, can you block these Ole Miss dudes? Tired of them. We don't block people. We don't block people. Unless it gets really egregious. If, we got people monitoring it. If it gets really egregious, yes, but it's going to have to get really, really, really egregious. We don't block people. 318 West also became a member on the YouTube channel. Thank you so much. Along with Matthew, became members on the YouTube channel. We'll probably more than likely have something up tomorrow. We completely surpassed this 1 hour and 26 minutes. I knew we would. Lucas Blanchard with a $2 super chat says, Lance Hurd back to LSU. LOL. I could see it. Yeah, I could see it. Do I think you're going to have to spend a ridiculous amount of money to do it? Yes. Do I think a conversation will happen? Yes. Do I think you want to spend that level of money for him? I don't know. Do I think Lance Hurd's going to get the $3 to $3.5 million he's looking for? Also no. So we'll see. Somebody might pay it. Do I think is utilizing it with leverage to Tennessee? Yes. There's a reason why he's not officially in the portal right now either. Or is he? I don't think he's official, but regardless, he's looking for money, man. And I'm not paying Tyree Adams the money that I could get. And I don't think Tyree Adams is asking for that level of money. But I mean, you need offensive linemen. You need offensive linemen, and you need them now. And you could have potentially a connection with him. And I mean, it's going to cost money. It's going to cost money. Dwight with a $10 super chat says, if we don't use the entire quote unquote $30 million budget on next year's roster, does the money roll over to the following year? Yes. And I think you're going to spend a lot of it because you got to. You got to. You 100% have to. Crazy Cheese Whiz with a $2 super chat. But yes, it will roll over. Thoughts on tight end Donovan Green staying? He is not staying. He has entered the portal. The injury really hurt him. I think that there are much better tight ends that you can go and get. Uh-oh. I think there are much better tight ends that you can go and get. I don't think that one's a massive loss at all. Daniel Edwards with a $5 super chat says, Blake, I'm just getting on today. What are you hearing about LSU coaches continue to coach Ole Miss for the playoffs? Love the show. Daniel, we spent a long time with it. I would just say, I'm sure you've heard it by now. Just go later in the show and it's in there. That's what I'm thinking. Do I think Charlie Weiss continues to coach with him? Yes. Do I think some of your staff is just going to stay at LSU? Yeah. Do I think there's a chance that Kevin Smith stays and Frank Wilson is the running backs coach for Kawan Lacey? Oh, I did miss Kawan Lacey. Yes. On Kawan Lacey, very quickly before we get out of here, guys, I see a lot of people talking about the dollar amount for him. I think we look at the running back position from a payment standpoint through an NFL lens. I think Kawan Lacey is worth high seven figures. And I say high seven figures, anywhere between $1.5 to $2 million. I think he's worth that. You don't have a shelf life at running back in college, not like you do in the NFL. Did you see last night? I mean, guys, you're not going to be worried about paying $1.5 to $2 million for him. You got to find a run game. You got to find an offensive line. Guys, $30 million is $30 million. And if you spend it, where are you going to spend it on? So that would be That would be interesting. Broad337 says Lane just tweeted a tiger emoji. Yeah, I think that you're going to be trending to some of these places in the high school ranks and in the portal. We'll see. I didn't check my text, though. Blake Bell with a $10 super chat says, why has our defense been so bad against quarterbacks that can run? Yeah, I think a couple of things. Number one, I think lane integrity or gap integrity has been a problem. I think overall athleticism has been a problem in some aspects. I think that you need to be a little bit more athletic at the linebacker position, and I think you are, but you're young there. I think CJ Ross is going to be a dude, but gap integrity has been a problem. I think that you're kind of surfacing from some older guys that can now come in here and do some things that just didn't play with a lot of gap integrity. The bottom line here for me is I look at this and just say to myself, it's something that Blake Baker's going to have to figure out because this isn't the first time it's plagued him. It's plagued him everywhere he's gone. Gap integrity is a big problem. Interior of the defensive line sometimes has been a problem too. But you need to be a little bit more athletic at backer. But it's been a massive problem. All right, last one. Mark Allen says, can I order a pizza in the portal? I don't know. Never been in there. I'm sure you can. Domino's delivers everywhere. At least that's what the ad says. All right. Great show. An hour and 40 minutes in. We will see y'all again. Members only probably more than likely tomorrow unless something massive changes. Then we'll be live. Until then, y'all have a good day. Peace.